I'd like to announce the award winner. As I said, a lot of exciting proposals. They all deserve attention, but we decided that the one that has probably the most commercial value, the most opportunity is the TerraVia concept, the algal prime, which is, let's see, can we put up the slide for Walt? And I want to give his, now I have to try to remember his bio. Oh, good. Walt, we were going to be in trouble. So Walt, he has a long history actually in working with DHA-enriched algae through fermentation. And he's stuck with it through a couple of iterations, and now there's a very highly efficient system now at Corbion, formerly TerraVia. You can see it was founded in 2003 as Solazyme. It's been through a few various representations, and initially working in fuels and chemicals, then focusing on human and animal nutrition. He's based in San Francisco, California. This is a really exciting way of providing a very limiting feed ingredient in aquaculture, DHA, that comes from fish oil. Fish oil is very limited in quantity. This is affecting human nutrition because of the same concepts that Pierce Lyons presented on our opening keynote. We've got to keep the final product enriched. So let's hear from Walt about this product. It's really exciting. Thanks. Let me get this out of your way, and that green one.
The green one is the magic one. Okay. Well, thanks very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here. Believe it or not, this journey started in the early 1990s when a colleague of mine and someone I've stayed in touch with over the last few decades, Bill Barkley from Omega Tech, found these class of organisms and decided that his vision was that someday he would be making these things at scale, providing them to the animal feed industry and improving the health and wellness of not only just the animals that consume them, but also us humans that consume the animals. And so, you know, I basically wanted to recognize Bill Barkley as a pioneer in this area, and all of us that have come along after that have just been trying to deliver on the promise, and that's, let's see, hit the green, oh, this green button, sorry, there was two green buttons. So really I wanted to talk about delivering on the promise. There's a lot of discussion that's gone on for a number of decades now on fermentation ingredients, and could we make these long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids in a way that was scalable and cost-effective and actually could get into the feed and actually perform. And so what we're here to talk about today is Alga Prime DHA, delivering on that promise that or vision that Bill had many years ago. It's taken time, it's taken an army of people, and I'm just the lucky one to be able to be here talking to you about it, just a participant along the way. As George mentioned, TerraVia, which was formerly Solazyme, is now part of the Corbion organization. I think we're 7 days old, so about a week now. And Corbion is a major producer of fermentation ingredients based in the Netherlands. And combined with Bunge, who's been our partner for many years now, we have a joint venture production facility in Brazil, Solazyme Bunge Renewable Oils, that combined with our strategic partnership with BioMar, which is, most of you know, a major feed supplier based in Norway, we're able to deliver on the promise. So it's not just technology, it's not just process development, it's not just product development, it's the whole value chain from ingredient through to BioMar today, making feeds and supplying them in different parts of the world. I won't tell you the omega-3 story. Dr. Lyons talked about this a little bit on yesterday, but my vision is not a vision, it's a reality that omega-3s are extremely important at all stages of life, prenatal through development, through us in our senior years for cognitive abilities. It's also great for animals that we love, puppies, kittens, older animals, and the animals that we eat need them as well to grow and be healthy and provide nutrition for us. So it's important for many different species and also at all stages of their development. The problem is, and this is where I get passionate, is if you think about the world and the population and how much long-chain omega-3s, DHA, and EPA should be consumed, there's different philosophies ranging anywhere from 200 milligrams a day to 1,000 milligrams a day. If we use the 500 milligram a day target that the Global Organization of EPA and DHA producers, so caveat there, are promoting, which is 500, you can see that there's a tremendous deficiency in our diets for EPA and DHA, which have been directly related or correlated to some extremely important health benefits. So as I said, most organizations recommend a minimum of 200 milligrams a day. If we do the math, basically what we find is our oceans can supply about 250,000 tons a year. We need 500. There's a huge need, even at that minimum level of 200 milligrams a day. If you go up to 1,000, obviously, there's a huge need for omega-3s in our diets. And this is just the human demand. I'm not talking about the need for omega-3s from an animal growth and development and robustness and wellness point of view. So there's a huge deficit, there's a limited supply, and that's where we come in with Bunge as a collaborator, Corbion now. So it's sort of the largest producer of oils, meets the world's leading algal microalgae platform, which now we have not only microalgae, but also lactic acid and lactic acid derivatives are part of the corporation. Most importantly, we now went from maybe 50 or 60 people to over 1,500 and having little revenues to over $1 billion revenues. So there's two financially strong, dedicated partners that are now owners of this joint venture in Brazil, where over $150 million was spent developing a purpose-built plant that uses sugarcane as a feedstock, microalgae as the production engine, which it also has an extremely beneficial environmental footprint, which I'll talk about in a second. And I think more importantly, going back to the first slide, it's making today at scale, as we speak, these products that are algae products rich in DHA. This is a picture of the plant. What's in the ellipse, the yellow ellipse, that's the actual new facility that was built. The rest of the picture is the Moema sugar mill, which is one of Bunge's flagship sugar mill northwest of Sao Paulo. Can crush somewhere between 4 and 5 million tons of cane, and Miguel Oliveira is here from Bunge that can tell you all about it. What's really interesting about this is that the steam and power that the fermentation plant uses all comes from burning the bagasse, which is the leftover sugarcane stalks after you've taken the sugar out of it. And so it has an impressive carbon footprint. Sugarcane is one of the most productive crops in the world in terms of sugar per hectare. It's rain-fed, and so the environmental footprint of this fermentation plant is amazing compared to any plants in Europe or the US. Also, we're far away from the Amazon rainforest in lands that have been used for sugarcane for decades, so there's no issue with using Amazon forest or other land for producing these products. So it's powered by renewable energy, and although there's multiple tens of millions of dollars invested in the plant, it's actually a pretty simple process. Those plant sugars in the simple sugar form are reused. They're fed to the microalgae. The microalgae accumulates oil over the fermentation. And at the end of the fermentation, when the sugar's been exhausted, we dry them and package them, and that's what's known as Alga Prime DHA. What is it? It's a powder. It's about 30% DHA, which is a pretty high level. It's 60% oil. The oil has about 50% DHA in it, and so it's about 30% or so DHA. Comes in a powder form, is a very clean source of oil. If you think about it, it's never really been exposed to the environment. It's been grown inside the cell as the microorganism converts, or the algae converts the sugar into the oils rich in long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids like DHA. And it's available today through feeds that are now being produced by BioMar. An interesting story here is you would think that, well, that makes a lot of sense. BioMar is one of the top 3 players in the world in the salmon industry. It's obvious that you should form a relationship with them. But it goes much deeper in that. Less than 1 minute into a conversation with their head of sustainability, Vidar Gundersen, I realized that they had our same shared values in terms of trying to do something that's good for people and good for the planet. And it's that shared values of trying to do good things as well as trying to meet needs in the industry that really cemented the relationship. And as I said a few minutes ago, the promise is being delivered. There are factories in Norway and in Chile and in the UK that are actually churning out feed that has this product in it. So it really is delivering on the promise, and we expect over the years to be making even more and to having even more feeds containing it. But I think one question people always ask is well, going back, for holding off on that in a second, is who's using it and why? This is some of the key farmers that actually have taken the leap and decided to use Alga Prime in their in their feeds for their salmon. Lore, one of the biggest producers in Norway, and Ventisquirus, producer in Chile, that's actually introduced a novel coho salmon product with a fish in, fish out, I believe around 0.5. So they've gone the route of, we want to use this technology to help drive fish in and fish out to 0.5. And so that's called the Silverside brand. It's available now. I think it was October was the launch point. They've been growing the fish in Chile since January of this year. The other thing that we often think about is, well, what are consumers saying, and how will you be able to position these products to consumers? Are you meeting any needs? And this is a result of a survey we conducted just asking consumers to respond to a series of prompts in terms of what resonated the strongest with them. You can see we did it across 5 different countries. Responsibly farmed salmon was the #1 response across all the geographies. Meat healthy claim is an interesting one that I'll qualify in a second, and high in good fat as opposed to bad fat was very high. When I say heart healthy claim, what we did is we qualified it by using claims that were appropriate for the geography, whether it was the American Heart Association, the British Nutrition Standards, whether it was the Japanese Health and Safety Authority. It was tailored for each one of those audiences. So what we're trying to do is understand what kinds of things consumers are interested in, how to message to them about salmon grown on feeds containing Alga Prime. And this is my last slide. It really says, well, how are people using this, and how could you envision using this new source of long-chain omega-3s like DHA in a complementary way with things that are already out there that are produced in a responsible way, like responsibly produced fish oil and fish meal. And so the top left quadrant is, well, this is a new source. At some point in time, the fish oil trap will close and there will be a shortage. And so we have an opportunity to have a new source of omega-3 to allow industry growth without having to take more fish from the ocean, which is great. And we can improve sustainability metrics of the feed, whether you're expressing it as fish in, fish out, or FFDR for fish oil. 1 metric ton of Alga Prime has the equivalent amount of DHA in it as 40 metric tons, I believe, of forage fish, but I can't read it right now. The bottom right one is something that Pierce Lyons teed up yesterday. Over the years, as the industry has responded to basically a static supply of marine ingredients and reduced the amount of particularly fish oil and fish meal used in salmon feeds, the amount of omega-3s per serving has fallen off dramatically. I think the last point there is around an average of 1.5 or so milligrams or grams per 100 grams of fish, of salmon fillet. It's actually almost half of that in the U.S. We've been doing some surveys lately, and that's a direct result of the reduction in the use of these marine ingredients in feeds. This is the unanticipated downside effect of doing that. So we think that we can responsibly enrich salmon fillets as well as other fillets with an omega-3 source that doesn't depend on the oceans for for its production. And then there's obviously interesting things about creating new food choices. We've actually taken some things like brain food, good for your heart-healthy food, put it in front of consumers, gotten their feedback on it. And actually, there were some comments about, hey, if I knew this was good for my brain, I'd be eating a lot more salmon. So salmon farmers love that, and the retailers as well. So I just want to thank you all for being here this afternoon. And, the slide that I had on here was basically the same closing slide as the beginning slide. It said, we really are delivering on the promise, and we're really excited about the recognition here today from the GAA that we are trying to deliver on the promise of new technologies by making them commercial and making them available. Thanks very much.
Let me present the award to you.